Welcome. We're talking Windows 11 tablet features possibly coming back, Microsoft standing in the way of Sony's gravy train that is Call of Duty, how teams can become a bit more pro, and maybe the Apple event? Stay tuned. Welcome everyone to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson, and we have a short week of news, but a week of news nonetheless. Some of our highlights would be Teams Going Pro and what that means as far as people who are paying for Teams Room Premium or Teams Room Standard or any of that jazz. We also have a back and forth between PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan and Xbox head Phil Spencer talking about what the future of Call of Duty is on the PlayStation platform going forward if the deal were to close. Those are some of our biggest headlines of this short week, but there was also an Apple event, so we'll be discussing that briefly and kind of what that means for Microsoft and how that tangentially relates, and what we might want to see coming out of Android after the event. So let's get into the week of news, starting with Teams Going Pro. So Microsoft announced Teams Going Pro. I thought it was already pro, but apparently there's a level of pro beyond enterprise professional. And with that pro, what ends up happening is people that were using Teams Rooms Premium or Teams Room Standard, or I guess Teams Room Premium, which was previously known as Skype Room systems, will now refer to this as Teams Pro. And what that ends up doing is that it rolls everything into a convenient new one service that will be licensed for about $40 per month. It's a single license for both those two services. With that, people will get access to exclusive features like intelligent audio and video, high quality tweaks on the Microsoft certified hardware as well. Teams Pro will also come with additional support for increased engagement, which means that it will unlock a lot of these new features we've been talking about over the past 2, 3, 4 months that involve, the use of whiteboard, screen sharing, raised hands, reactions. All of that will start rolling into this new product. As Microsoft likes to say with a lot of stuff, it's AI driven. So again, that means that they can scale these features, per month if they want to do updates or whatnot. And you get it for $40 regardless of how many or how often new features show up. In the meantime, people can still access Microsoft Teams Rooms, and small businesses can still schedule that all for free. We don't know exactly when it will roll out, but Microsoft's saying that it will at least roll out with a month free trial. So stay tuned when we get some updates on when they start doing the previews or just roll it out in general. We will let you know. The next biggest headline in today's news, depending on if you're a gamer or not, was PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan saying that Xbox Call of Duty offer is inadequate on many levels. Yeah, he's getting a little bit catty, but let's get into the details of it. Speaking with GameIndustry.biz, Jim Ryan was talking about the offer that Microsoft made to extend the support for Call of Duty and future Call of Duty games on the PlayStation platform for a few more years beyond the contractual agreement they have, I believe, which ends in 2025 or whatnot. And to that, Ryan said that it was inadequate, meaning that Microsoft needs to do more than that. Microsoft has only offered Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends. It's been after 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, so I can see why he's a bit upset about this. In response, I think Phil Spencer, who didn't really want to talk on the matter, obviously because he is going through approvals right now to make sure that the Activision deal even gets approved, said that the offer in question was a signed agreement to Sony to guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with features and content parity for at least several more years. Several, I think he identified as 3, which is, again, beyond the end date for this agreement, which is 2025, if I'm not mistaken. So he's extending it for about 3 years after that. I don't know why Jim Ryan thought that it would be, I guess, indefinite or beyond 5 more years after a signed agreement that, again, Microsoft had no say in. They have no contractual obligation to do anything beyond what Activision had already signed. So if they chose to cut Call of Duty from PlayStation as soon as the deal ends, it's their legal right to do so. It's a black eye on the industry and doesn't look good for their PR. But Phil Spencer did say, again, he's said several years after. So we'll nail down exactly what that means in the future. But it's just kind of a little catty for Ryan to say what he said when he said it, especially knowing that Microsoft is going through appeals and approvals and antitrust litigation for the deal to begin with. I think he's trying to basically, I forget what the term is called, but he's seeding the ground for people to investigate and kind of look into it and see if they can give some guarantees before the approval, saying that Sony might be able to have Call of Duty on the platform longer. Who knows? But again, those are just two of the biggest headlines. Let's get into the week. We have Halo Infinite players unlocking campaign local split screen co-op on Xbox. So I think I had mentioned last week about the development team kind of shuttering that approach and doing away with the whole effort in general. But it seems like they had gotten pretty far in the coding because it's in there and people have been able to activate it relatively easily. All you need to have all you need to get a local co-op working on Halo Infinite on the current Gen Xbox consoles is a friend that's online and who's in the menus pretty much. The Halo creation on Twitter created a quick video tutorial of the process getting Halo Infinite local co-op working. So I'll have some B-roll about how to, kind of keep your eye on how to do that. It takes a few minutes to get done. No hacking, no flashing, none of the ISO stuff, none of that. It's like I said, it seems like it was built into the code already. They just hadn't had a chance to test it out. And again, there may be other development things that I am not foreseeing as far as maybe, because this is split screen, so it's two, maybe the four corner screen that we all got used to in Halo was something that was going to be a bit too taxing or maybe not work out well once implemented. So they kind of scrapped the idea, but it's in there. People can get around and get to using it. Again, it's not officially supported, so we don't know what can and might break in the future. But if you're interested in doing co-op, give it a shot. That was pretty much all that happened on Tuesday. Like I said, we're coming off of a holiday weekend here in the U.S., which was Labor Day, so news is a bit slow. On Wednesday, the U.S. Army took delivery of its first batch of HoloLens 2 base combat goggles. We have been following this story for years, and it has been an up and down story that involved the U.S. Army, the last administration, Microsoft, the Department of Defense. Like a whole bunch of players have all been kind of miscommunicating what's actually been going on, putting a halt to things, reinvestigating things, putting bad PR out there. But at the end of the day, it's been a long road, and Microsoft's IVAS augmented reality platform, which will be used on these new goggles, apparently got the approval. We mentioned in May that they'd have to do about a month-long field test, and that would be the determining factor in whether or not the U.S. Army, who had previously halted its funds for funding this project, would move forward. And it seems like the test went well in May. So according to Bloomberg report, the Army had placed an initial order of 5,000 devices worth $373 million with a potential purchase of 121,000 more devices worth $21.9 billion over the next 10 years. Early tests were a bit problematic, but it seems like they're going to be going forward with another batch of orders. I don't know the exact number on that, but it's good news for Microsoft because, like we said, the potentiality of the deal was $21.9 billion over 10 years, which is big, especially for a project that has seen its share of executive issues with Alex Kipman having to leave, choosing to leave, and the military kind of questioning whether or not this is a project they needed to go forward with. On Thursday, that's when we kind of get a deluge of news because, I don't know, maybe people just woke up. Microsoft confirms that there are sign-in issues with Windows 11 update, and this isn't just for insiders. This is the Windows 11 21H2 update for people, and I guess it would prevent users from signing in using a Microsoft account. I don't know how many of you this affected, but as of today, they have pushed out a fix. So go and see if you need to update that fix, or if you're having troubles with the sign in. I believe you can do a guest account and work your way around it, and then apply the update. If that doesn't work, you can always roll back your system to before the update and then apply it there, and you should be good going forward. The other bit of news is Xbox is launching a brand new home UI. And this will be going, I guess, live in 2023. They're testing it out right now in the alpha ring, I believe. A few people have gotten it and kind of played around with it. But one of the new big features will be a jump back in view, which is a row at the top of the homepage for the Xbox dashboard, where people will find recently played games and apps, replacing dedicated tiles for this. There will also be suggestion tiles as well. Some people might consider those ads for other games, but your ad, one man's ad is another man's suggestion. I'm going to see if that catches on. Senior product manager and lead of Xbox experiences, Ivy Krislov, had this to say about the forthcoming update. Quote, "We know the Xbox homepage is where our games spend the most time, and it's a space that's very personal. We also know we can always be listening and learning how we can do better here while keeping our experiences fast and familiar. With that, we're kicking off a multi-month series of experiments to learn how to create a more personalized home screen experience and address some of the top trends and fan requests." Quote, if you are not in the alpha ring or the beta ring, you might want to consider entering to give your feedback. It looks like Microsoft is going back closer to, I guess, the dashboard of the PlayStation, where it's just a grid of up and down, left and right. While tiles still remain, we're not having this large tile, medium tile, small tile stuff. It's all seeming to be all medium-sized tiles and easy to navigate UI. So that's always a plus. The other thing that happened on Thursday was Microsoft Teams will now soon let users view the entire chat threads in search results. This was announced on Thursday. Microsoft is currently working on a feature tagged ID 97510 in the Microsoft 360 roadmap for those of you who have access to it, which I'm assuming none of you do, because why would you need it? But if you're interested in it, this new view entire features chat will do exactly as it says. It will allow users to view the entire chat of the conversation thread after clicking on the search manage results. So if you start typing in a single word and you find what you're looking for, you will now be able to see the entire thread on one side. I know I use that quite often when I type in one word and I have to, kind of sort through several mini chats just to get to the thing I'm looking for. What it's intended to do is help users track their conversations easily and refer to conversations and previous messages revolving around the search message. Again, I think we're likely to see this feature in October, so basically next month. I don't know when the general availability will be. It might be at the end of the month, maybe the beginning of November. And it should be for both Mac and Windows users. Last bit of information on Thursday that came out was Microsoft releasing Windows 11 Insider Dev Channel build 25197. And that's kind of what we were hinting at the top, that Microsoft is also testing out or reintroducing the tablet optimized taskbar, which was removed from Insider builds back in April, which added a rounded corners on the bottom of the taskbar, a hover over treatment, and also enlarged the icons when in touch or tablet focus mode. But again, it's not for everybody. This is an A/B testing. So if you don't have it, don't worry, you might get it. If you don't get it in dev, you might get it as an A/B tester in beta. It's weird the way Microsoft is doing this kind of things. Some other visual updates come to the calculator media player, just small tweaks, again, more polished, more mica, I guess, effects or whatnot. The other thing people might notice is that it's not possible to drag or drop or rearrange your system tray icons with this change. So I don't know if they are testing out the touch first functionality of it before they give back the full featured ability, or maybe they just don't want you dragging and dropping with your finger. Who knows? Microsoft is a mystery. Microsoft has also officially introduced animated icons, which will be in the settings, which you can find in the settings panel. These are basically the icons next to storage and battery updates and personalization, things like that. If you hover over with your icon, They will do a small animation. It's nice polish. These are things that are necessary and needed in Windows. Again, there's still other menus and settings and UI that could probably be addressed before the small change, but I will take, and you're probably like me, anything we can get at this point that makes Windows 11 look a little bit more polished. Like I said, join the dev channel if you're looking to get this update, or the beta channel. You should be getting it soon. Last but not least, we are moving on to Friday, which Microsoft and Blackbird are showing off professional browser-based video editors. Microsoft will be joining Blackbird at the IBC 2022 to show off browser-based professional video production software. It's kind of like, I guess, what was Clipchamp on steroids. So the big news, though, is that it's Blackbird's professional video editing software is all based on Azure Public Cloud. So Microsoft wins twice on this. Blackbird will also support Azure Blob storage for video ingest and publishing, enabling a fully transparent workflow. The video production software is also integrated with Azure Media Services to easily handle all streaming and video on-demand needs. So again, big win to kind of show exactly what it is Microsoft's cloud can do. And hopefully we'll see more and more of these kind of things happening in the future. I had mentioned and promised that we would talk about Apple. So let's do it real quick. Apple had an event, I believe Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday afternoon. It was a 2-hour-long event where they introduced a watch or series of watches, a series of phones, and their AirPods Pro 2. There's not much to talk about on the front for watches that are related to Microsoft because Microsoft gave up on the band, sadly. We all know that. And they don't really have that many watch-based apps because their apps work better on bigger screens to begin with. But there's the iPhone 14, which has a new processor, a slightly brighter screen. There are a bunch of different versions. The pricing seems to be in line and considerate of today's economy, relatively considerate. The thing that's kind of to mention is the way that Apple is tweaking their software. They took their notch and they made it a notification area on the phone. And I believe the part I want to talk about is the speculation of using that notification area on MacBooks. There's a reason why they built it, that kind of area into a MacBook when it was unnecessary. You've seen, Microsoft do it. You've seen Dell do it and some other people. They've been putting in some, better cameras in smaller, discrete display areas. But Apple decided to do the notch. And I believe going forward, that might be where the notifications reside. And I would ponder to ask if you guys believe that's a good place for it at the top of your desktop as you're kind of going through things, or would you prefer it on the side, which we kindly have in Windows? For those of you who haven't seen this new dynamic island, which again I believe will be carried over to iPads and MacBooks in the future, I just want to ask, do you think notifications should be at the top or should they be off to the side? And the same goes for search. Should we start putting search at the top or at the bottom? I just want to know your thoughts, what you think as far as how Apple's approach is going towards utilizing their hardware and software as one. We're supposed to see the fruits of a similar effort between Panos now being in charge of hardware. Would you like to see notifications at the top of your Windows device, or do you still like to see them at the bottom corner? That's all I have for today. Like I said, it was a short week. I am glad you guys are here hanging out with me. I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. For those of you who have mentioned about the mic, I've tried to fix it, so I'm hopefully coming in louder in your ear. With that being said, you can find me at Mindhead1 on Twitter. If you have any other comments, concerns, suggestions, I'm all ears. You can also find On Microsoft just by our handle on Twitter for brief headlines and news. If you want to read the full disclosures and full articles, our how-tos, our editorials, our reviews and whatnot, you can go to onmicrosoft.com. And that is it for me today. I am me, you are you. Have a great weekend.